Right, it's 1:30, so we'll start away and let people filter in. Maybe I'll just do some housekeeping and introductions at the start. My name is Sean O'Leary. I'm Senior Planner with the Irish Planning Institute. That means that I'm responsible for the day-to-day running of the organisation, and then with particular focus on things like policy, research, education, and professional development. I'm joined by Stephen Walsh, who is Membership Secretary with the Institute. I'll explain the structure in a second, but Stephen is a director of the Institute. Our board of directors is currently called the Council, so Stephen is a member of that council. Each council member is then working with different committees and on different projects and different pieces of work. And Stephen convenes the membership committee, which is one of the busiest committees that we have. And that is the one that makes recommendations on membership applications, ways to engage, recruit members, etc. And then the other person who might be along from our side is Shelley Boylan, who is our administration manager, and she is probably going to be your first point of contact for any queries that you may have. If you're a member and you email info, it's likely that Shelley will pick it up. Anything around your membership application, your onboarding, your subscriptions, Shelley is probably your main point of call as well. So Stephen will be dealing with the Q&A at the end, and also there's some things he'll come in on in this as well. Just as we're getting going, if you want, it might be useful if you just stick into the chat kind of where you're coming from or what you're working in, if you're an existing member, what you're particularly interested in, or if you're looking to join, if there's anything in particular that you'd like us to cover. The format of this is I've got a fairly short presentation, and then we'll leave as much time as possible for Q&A. We'll get out of here by 1:15 at the latest anyway. We are going to record the webinar. It'll be available on the Institute's website, on the YouTube channel, along with any of the slides that are presented. If you do want to, and we have it set up so that it shouldn't, but if you don't want to be seen in that, do turn your camera off. We won't be uploading the Q&A portion of the event, so we'll just this presentation bit is what's going to be made available, not the Q&A discussion at the end. So that can be as open and honest as it can be. Of course, the usual etiquette: you might switch off your mic when you're not speaking. If you have anything at the end, then it's like sticking it to chat and we'll pick it up, or else you can raise your hand and we'll address questions at the end as well. If there's anything else that Stephen or myself mentioned, there are our email addresses there as well. And as I said, these slides will be on the site after. And then just in general, if there's queries that you have, you can email info if it's a general query, membership if it's about your application or your onboarding or anything like that. And then for invoicing and payment queries, it's probably Sylvia is going to pick it up, so you can email accounts for any queries about your payment or subscriptions or invoices or things like that. What I'm going to talk about in the next 15 minutes or so is a little bit about us, a little about membership, the different categories that we have, and then just some of the stuff that we're working on recently and in the coming months. So we were founded in 1975, we're headquartered in Dublin, and we're an all-island body representing professional planners. The origins of the Institute would be obviously the 1963 Act was the foundation of the modern planning system in the Republic. But there would have been planners working in Ireland, north and south, in the 20s and 30s. Generally, they would have had UK qualifications, or they'd have been trained in the UK system. And really in the 1970s, operating the 1963 Act in the Republic in particular, it kind of got to a critical mass where there was a recognition that there was Irish-specific issues, Irish-specific qualifications, and Irish-specific needs. And that led to the creation of the Institute, which from the very outset was had members working in the public sector, in local authorities, and in central government, and then also in the emerging kind of private practice, which did also start off in the 1970s. So we're about planning, we're about advancing planning for the common good, and we're doing it. The two ways we think that to do that is furthering planning and supporting planners and the professionals who actually operate that planning system. We've got 1,000 members. They work across the island of Ireland. They're in local government agencies, central government, the board, academia, for developers, in private practice, NGOs, and a whole range of places. Some of the stuff that we do is we accredit courses. We'll talk more about that in a second, but certain planning courses, we're invited to accredit them, we review them, and then we accredit those as being of the standard that we think is necessary to practice as a planner in Ireland. We represent the profession on a variety of bodies and in the media, different things like the Planning Advisory Forum, which met most recently on the National Planning Framework revision. The Construction Sector Group, which is convened by the Department of Public Expenditure, which is made up of a range of bodies, professional bodies, agencies, and different departments like that. The Office of the Planning Regulator has a planning knowledge group, which we sit on. We're regularly, I think in the last 18 months, it's been something like 6 or 8 different Oireachtas committee appearances as well. Then internationally, and this is relevant if you're looking to join us, we've got mutual recognition agreements with the sister institutes that we have in New Zealand and in Australia. And then we're a member of the European Council, so the European Council of Spatial Planners. So it's called the European Council of Spatial Planners. The acronym then is ECTP-CEU, but it is the European umbrella body for planning institutes like ourselves. We've got links in there. And then also we're a member of the Global Planners Network, which is a more informal gathering, essentially of English-speaking, predominantly English-speaking planning institutes. So we've got a European and an international focus like that. And we'll talk more about what that New Zealand and Australia relationship in particular looks like later on. And then everything that we do is reinvested back into the institute. So we're not for profit organization, and your membership of the institute does contribute to strengthening planning and planners in Ireland. So everything that we get goes back into the profession and back into our activities and delivering those. In terms of how we're organized, as I mentioned, Stephen is the director of the institute. He's on the board of directors, which is called the council. That may be changing in the future, but it's a council at the moment that's elected from the membership every 2 years. So our next elections won't be until the end of next year. And then that council, which is made up of 12 members from a range of different backgrounds, elects these officers. So it elects the president, which is Gavin Lawler, who's working in private practice, but he's president for the 2 years. We've got a vice president working in the local government sector, who's Brian McCarthy. We've got Juliette Ryan, who's our treasurer, who is working in a state agency. And then we've got Philip Jones, who is a retired member, but would have worked predominantly in the public sector. And then below that, we've got a range of committees, we've got branches, we've got networks and forums. I'll have a slide about all those in a second. And then they're supported by that small executive staff, and the main points of contact will be probably Shelley and then myself as well. And just some of the stuff that we're doing is everything that we're doing is organized around these strategic priorities. I won't go into these in detail, but we've got 4 strategic priorities and a range of accompanying actions taking us out to 2027. And they're all about being the best organization that we can, being innovative, making sure that we're climate action and sustainability focused, being flexible, delivering for our members, having policy influence, which is making sure that we expand that policy capacity and influence, do more independent research, enhancing professional development, so making sure that our members learn what is important for them to learn and maintain those educational standards, and then promoting planning and promoting planners. So talking more about why professional membership is important, what planners do, how we can support planners in their day-to-day activities, increasing public awareness of planning, and also increasing the numbers of students who want to enter planning. And then we're delivering those strategic priorities mainly through these different committees. I won't go through all of these, but some of them are operational, and then some of them are more policy or activity focused. As I mentioned, Stephen is convener of that membership committee. So a membership application goes to that membership committee, who review it and make a recommendation first. You've got committees looking at things like education, committees that are responsible for responding to policy consultations. You've committees looking at things in the regions, and for young planners, I'll talk more about those. You've got marine spatial planning, which is a particularly busy committee, given some of the changes and developments that are happening there. And then also you've got an ethics and professional practice committee, because all members are bound by a code of conduct, and that is overseen by that independent ethics committee. Then more informal, we've got some networks and some forums, and members are more than welcome to join any of these. You don't. So there's a senior planners forum and a senior professional forum. That is for people working in the public sector in those senior roles, and then in the private sector as kind of directors, heads of planning and things like that. So that is a very informal network, but it's a way to make sure that what we're doing reflects the challenges that those people in those leadership positions are identifying. It's an opportunity to share information and for peer learning and peer support as well. So we organize those twice a year. And now we're expanding that, which is a successful model. We're expanding that maybe to people in other parts of their career. And one of those, it's just been launched today, is a small practice forum. So that's people, a lot of planning practices are quite small by comparison to engineering practices, for example. So if you're working in a small practice, you might have very specific issues that aren't that maybe don't affect your larger practices, and they could be from compliance to a range of other things. So we're setting up a small practice forum for people working in those sorts of settings where they can share information and again feed off anything to us that they think we need to be aware of or that we may need to bring to the attention of others or act upon. And then, as I said, the Senior Planners Forum is for those in those senior planner positions in local authorities primarily. But also from feedback from members, we're going to set up an executive and senior executive planners forum. So it's that layer below, those tiers below in the organizational hierarchy, who have their own needs, and it's an opportunity again for them to share information, learning, meet people socially. We think this is going to primarily be online, given the geographic reach that we have, but it is going to be member-led. So anyone who's a member of any of these forums and networks, it's up to them really to organize and we don't have a fixed idea of how these should be run. Really, it is going to respond to how people want us to address their issues and concerns. And I'll talk more just about those in other roles in a second. I won't go into this in detail, but there's a variety of benefits of being a member of a professional body like ourselves. I mean, you do it because there's benefits to you personally. It gives you confidence. It makes sure that you're kept up to date. It ensures your credibility, and then also make sure that your skills and those evolve and continue to be kept up to date. There's benefits to the employers as well, which is that they've got a staff that they know that they can stand over and make sure that their knowledge is current. And it provides a network as well. And then there's wider benefits to society. And as I mentioned, all members. So when you joined, you would have agreed to abide to a code of ethics and professional conduct, or if you join in the future, you will agree to abide by that code of ethics and professional conduct. And again, that's about consumer confidence and things like that. And then this is I won't go through all these again, but it gives you a membership network, compulsory professional development. So for those full corporate members, you are required to do 20 credits of CPD every year. And then you get certain content, which is members only. You get regular weekly updates. You can attend member only events. You get reduced rate for attending events. And it does recognize your professional qualification. This is just an example of some of the stuff that's on the members area of the website. So recent webinars, recordings, slides, submissions, further information, which any member can access. And if you are a member and you've got problems logging into the website, do just drop us an email and we'll rectify that for you and make sure that you're using the email address that we have in the system to try to log in. But the stuff there about recent events and things like that. So then just in terms of this membership structure, and I was talking about corporate members and stuff there, just to, again, on the right-hand side, the membership pyramid really is at the very top. You've got honorary members, which are people who've given a long service to planning or to the profession. You don't necessarily need to be a planner or a member of the Institute to be there. Jan Gell, for example, was awarded honorary membership when he gave a lecture for us a couple of years ago. You've got fellow members, which are people who've given service to the Institute and have long-standing in their careers. Then you've got corporate membership. So that's MIPI, they're the post-nominal letters, and that is the main membership category. That's what Stephen and myself hold, for example. And then underneath that, you've got graduate members, you've got student members, which is free to all students completing an accredited planning program. And then you've also got affiliate membership, which isn't open to somebody with a planning qualification. It's for associated professionals, people who aren't planners but who are, I suppose, interacting with the planning system or interested in planning. You'd have, for example, some people, some barristers, for example, who do a lot of planning work, might be in that affiliate category. Full membership is €310 for 2024. Our membership year is the calendar year, so it runs from January to December. We do have reductions for unwaged members, for example, those who are in financial difficulties. So if they contact us, we can look at that membership subscription. And then there's pro rata reductions if you join later in the year. So if you join in this time of the year, for example, we're not expecting you to pay that 310. So there is pro rata reductions for those joining at the end of the year, and then you'll be invoiced the full amount at the start of next year. All those fees are available on the website, and you can see more about those categories on the website as well. This is something that's important because it does generate some questions. So you don't automatically move from one category to the other. We can't be guaranteed that you graduated, for example. We don't know necessarily how much work experience you have. So if you are a student member who wants to become a graduate member, if you're a graduate member who's been building up post-qualification experience and wants to become a corporate member, you will have to apply to us, and there's different processes for that. And then all those applications are considered by the membership committee and then by the Institute Council. That membership pathway then is presented here. So if you're doing an accredited planning course, you can be a student member, it's free. Then when you graduate, you have to apply for graduate membership. So if you hold that accredited planning qualification or an equivalent planning qualification, you may be eligible for graduate membership. And then once you build up your post-qualification experience, and that's typically 2 years if you've got an accredited qualification, once you've got your qualification, 2 years post-qualification experience, you can become a corporate member. And there are ways to become a corporate member if you don't have an accredited qualification as well, but you may need to show more experience. And Stephen can talk about that during the Q&A. And then, as I said, you don't have to have an IPI accredited qualification to become a graduate member or a student member necessarily. And this is just a list, and this is available on the website, and it's kept up to date on the website. There are examples of qualifications which we consider to be equivalent or planning qualifications like ours. And you do need to make a full application. You need to show what you've done. You need to show the modules you've undertaken. But this isn't an exhaustive list, but it's just examples of people who have a non-IPI accredited qualification who also can obtain membership. And it just might mean showing us a bit more what you learned in your qualification vis-a-vis the ones that we directly recognize. And to help us do that, you do need to supply more information if you have a non-accredited course. So if you've done an IPI accredited course, which is the M-Plan in UCC, the MRUP, the 2-year MRUP, or the MRUP Accelerated from UCD, or the BSc or the MSc in TU Dublin, you need an application form, you need proof of qualification, you need a detailed CV if you're applying for corporate or fellowship, and you need 2 signatures. If you can't get those signatures are typically or should be from corporate or fellow members who are proposing you for membership. If you're working overseas, for example, we can look at getting references as well. So do get in touch with us. Don't let those 2 signatures be a barrier necessarily. There is ways that we can meet the test that they're trying to ascertain. And then if you don't have an accredited qualification, so if you're on that list that I just had on the previous slide, for example, you will need the form, you need proof of qualification, but also you'll need your transcript, and you'll need as much detail as possible about the course that you've undertaken. So the course structure, how many modules it was, how many years it was, what the modules were, what they covered, and then details of the ECTS credits. And I'm going to talk about the education guidelines at the end, but everything we do, the courses we accredit, the non-accredited courses that we recognize, are all based on our education guidelines. They're currently being reviewed, but what we think a planner should learn, how long we think a planning course should be, what the modules should address, is all set out in those education guidelines. And if you meet the standards in the education guidelines, even if it's not a course we're familiar with, it is more likely that you will be eligible for a form of membership. You'll still need to get a CV, and you'll still need to have those signatures or references as a non-accredited person as well. And then look, this is just once you are in, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved. You can contribute to our submissions, you can join a branch in a network, you can sit in a committee, you can stand for election, you can contribute to our journal, which is called Plenol, you can enter our different award schemes. There's a variety of ways that you can get involved once you are a member. And then just some examples of some of the stuff that we're doing at the moment, and then that's the end of the presentation element of this, is we've got regular engagements with the Office of the Planning Regulator, so we meet them quarterly. We've got regular engagements with the Department of Housing. We're meeting them next month. We're meeting them this month as part of our quarterly engagement with them. We will meet with other departments, Oireachtas committees, elected members on the planning bill in particular. We're meeting with the Minister for Infrastructure in Northern Ireland next month as well. And then some of the stuff that we've made submissions on in the last couple of months is moving together the transport strategy, the South Coast DMAP, a lot of stuff on the planning and development bill, obviously. The CRU's large energy connection policy. We made a submission as part of the review of development management regulations in Northern Ireland. We've made submissions on the National Adaptation Framework. We've made submissions on the operation of the e-planning system in the South as well. And we're working on submissions on the National Planning Framework revision, which closes this month, the regulations which will be following the Planning and Development Bill, and also a National Planning System building from e-planning as well. So there's some of the examples of some of the kind of policy priorities that we have. We're going to be publishing an informal advice note series, which is some information or suggestions for members on some topical issues that people have said that they would like some guidance about. And then we've been in the press and we've issued press releases and given interviews about various things like the National Planning Framework, nature-based solutions, the bill, the demand management strategy, public transport, developments in Bord Pleanála, etc. And then just in terms of some upcoming events and activity that you can get involved in, some of these are members only, some of these are free to all, and then some of them have reduced rates or very reduced rates for members. So some of the stuff we did in the last couple of months, we had a workshop on marine planning and marine ecosystems. We had a webinar with the Housing Agency. We had a webinar on the National Planning Framework as it came out for public consultation. We did a walking tour of Trinity ahead of their campus master plan. And we had a webinar with Sony, the Northern Ireland grid operator, on their public engagement model. And then some of the stuff that's coming up between now and Christmas is we've got a sold out project management fundamentals course. It's an in-person project management course focused on planners and the needs of planners. And it's being delivered on a cost neutral basis, and it is sold out. It's very popular. We've got a webinar on data centers. We've got something for the Early Career Planners Network. So I mentioned we've got these networks and branches. We've got geographic branches which are focused on Cork, Dublin, and Northern Ireland. So they're more informal, more locally relevant activities. But then also we're going to set up this Early Career Planners Network. And this is for graduates and students, people who are relatively recently out of college, maybe with up to 5 years experience or still studying planning, who again have probably different CPD needs and knowledge needs than maybe a senior exec or somebody who's been working in a planning consultancy for a longer time. So this is going to be a mix of online CPD and also in-person events. So the first person event of that Early Career Planners Network is going to be a cycle tour in Dún Laoghaire on the 25th of September. That's free. And information about that is up on the website, and information on that early career planners network is up on the website as well. Then we've got those senior forums in October. We've got our autumn planning conference, which is on the very topical topic of planning and infrastructure. We'll have a marine spatial planning webinar series on 3 Fridays in October. We'll do one on judicial review in Northern Ireland, a webinar. We'll have a webinar on quarries as part of marking World Town Planning Day in November. We'll have a webinar on acoustics. We'll have a planning law conference, and by that stage, the Planning and Development Bill should have been adopted, so it'll focus on the Planning Act. We have our AGM. Members can attend the AGM, bring issues of concern or things that they want to see addressed to our AGM as well, which is in December. and then right into January when we're doing a webinar on the experience of Scotland's national planning framework, given maybe the similarities to the national planning framework here. So that's a lot of the stuff that we're doing, but there's going to be branch activity in between as well. And there's also going to be stuff directly focused on early career planners as part of that network. So plenty of stuff to get involved in, and details of most, if not all of those things are now on the website. So that's it for me, really. I mean, look, membership is an opportunity to share, learn, collaborate. It recognizes your qualifications and your experience in the employment market. We make sure that people stay up to date because of mandatory CPD. We verify that you've got a planning qualification. You can use those letters MIPI if you're a member, FIPI if you're a fellow. And then you can, plenty of opportunities to get involved, whether it's a branch level, national level, making submissions, and a whole host of other ways to get involved with us as well. There's some links there, and this, as I said, will be up on the website to different documents I may have mentioned. And I'm going to stop my screen now. We'll focus on the questions. I will stop the recording as well. And then, Stephen, if there's anything in particular that you want to talk more about, or people can just raise their hand, stick it into chat, and we've got about 20 minutes for Q&A. So anything at all that I covered or didn't cover, anything you'd like to understand more, anything you'd like to talk more about, we're here to listen and here to guide you in the right direction. So Stephen, is there anything you wanted to just highlight?
Just in terms of another benefit to joining up and being involved in the Institute, as someone who's sat on interview panels and